Where's Buzz?
Down there.
Welcome to WatchMojo UK, and today we're looking at 10 chilling and terrifying coincidences throughout history. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Manchester Pusher. Is there a mad murderer roaming Manchester's canals or not? The police have insisted for years that the Manchester Pusher isn't real, and is a modern urban myth that appears to have come from a story in the Daily Star suggesting that there were a suspicious number of bodies pulled out of the canals. Suffice it to say, the Daily Star isn't the most reliable source of information. However, there was, in 2018, a genuine pusher incident where a cyclist was pushed in, giving credence to the idea that the pusher is real. At least 86 people have been pulled from the canal, but Greater Manchester Police still say that the deaths are accidental drownings fueled by alcohol. Is it really all just a coincidence? Laura Buxton. This bizarre story was initially reported by the Swindon Advertiser in 2001. Because of the sheer unbelievability, it's been extensively fact-checked, and is, in fact, true. One day earlier that summer, Laura Buxton, a young girl in Stoke-on-Trent, launched a helium balloon and attached her name and address, hoping someone might get it and respond. The person who received the balloon was, in fact, another child also named Laura Buxton, 140 miles away in Staffordshire. They also had the same hair color, eye color, wore almost the exact same clothes when they first met in person, and had the exact same pets. Do you have a doppelganger out there somewhere waiting to be contacted? Hopefully not, since doppelgangers are bad omens in folklore. Futility.
It will make the bergs harder to see, with no breaking water at the base.
14 years before Titanic sank, author Morgan Robertson released a sinister novella named Futility, following the sinking of a ship named the Titan. Titan is the biggest ship in the world and widely regarded as unsinkable.
Iceberg, right ahead! Thank you.
It first crashes into another ship and cleaves it in two, then hits an iceberg and finally sinks. This bore striking similarities to the Titanic's real-life sinking years later, including that both struck icebergs in the North Atlantic in April. In a macabre twist, Futility got a new edition in the aftermath of the Titanic disaster to capitalize on Robertson's apparent prophecy, though the reissue was a little more optimistic, perhaps to comfort the Titanic survivors. The 27 Club.
He left no time to regret.
This strange phenomenon stretches beyond the UK, but a handful of high-profile Brits are included among its ranks, including Amy Winehouse and Brian Jones. In short, the 27 Club is a group of musicians who all died tragically young at the age of 27. Also in this morbid club are Jim Morrison of The Doors, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and Kurt Cobain. Interestingly, sociology has shown that because of the idea of the 27 Club, people who do die at age 27 and therefore fit the bill are granted significantly more media attention.
We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times.
They remain in our cultural memory for longer, with the 27 Club itself being a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy of notoriety. It's still extremely sad to have lost such great talents before the age of 30 though.
I go back to black.
Catherine Eddowes and Mary Kelly. You're probably familiar with these names of two of Jack the Ripper's canonical 5 victims, but a strange coincidence preceded Catherine Eddowes' brutal murder in the early hours of the 30th of September 1888. After being arrested for being drunk in the streets, Eddowes was taken temporarily into custody until she sobered up. She was released and told the policeman that her name was Mary Ann Kelly. Over a month later, and the Ripper would strike for seemingly the final time, killing Mary Jane Kelly. Though interestingly, his first victim's name was Mary Ann Nichols, though she was usually called Polly. The strange coincidence is largely explained by Eddowes' partner being named John Kelly and her taking his surname, but it's still unusual. The Erdington murders. 2 murders 157 years apart committed on the outskirts of Birmingham bear striking similarities. 20-year-old Mary Ashford was found dead on the 27th of May 1817, having been assaulted and then murdered. The crime was investigated and a man named Abraham Thornton was the prime suspect, but he was never convicted. A century and a half later, in 1974, Barbara Forrest, also 20, was killed in much the same way and left in the same place, vanishing also on the 27th of May. The prime suspect in her death? Michael Ian Thornton, a man with the same surname as the previous suspect, who was also acquitted. Here I was like a psalm. Nonsense phrase, here I was like a psalm, is in fact an anagram for William Shakespeare. This alone isn't much of a coincidence, especially considering it's a phrase that doesn't make sense on its own, but there is something striking about it. If you take a look at the Psalms in the King James Bible and go to Psalm 46, the 46th word from the top is shake, and the 46th from the bottom is spear. The coincidence gets stranger when you realize that, when the King James Bible was completed, the bard himself was 46. Creepier yet, Shakespeare also famously died on his birthday, though he lived to 52, not 46. Franz Ferdinand's number plate. On the 28th of June 1914, Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated in Sarajevo, an event that ultimately triggered the First World War. He and his wife were shot in an open-top car with the number plate AIII 118, interpreted by some as meaning armistice 11/11/18, since the armistice went into effect at 11 o'clock in the morning on the 11th day of November 1918. Simply, there is no explanation for this. The number plate is still on the car to this day, which you can see at the Museum of Military History in Vienna, though a lot of the paint has started to chip. It's also spookily not been driven since that fateful day, with its mileage still showing 8,596 kilometers. James Dean's cursed car.
Hit your lights!
From one ominous car to another, Hollywood star James Dean died in a car accident on the 30th of September 1955. In the last year of his life, Dean had developed a passion for racing, and he eventually bought a Porsche 550 Spider. He didn't die during a race, but rather while driving the car down the highway in California. But the reason why it's on a WatchMojo UK list is because of who allegedly warned Dean a week before that the car was going to be his death. None other than Sir Alec Guinness, though some think he made this up after the fact. The Spider was stripped for parts, with its engine being used in other cars that also seem to have a habit of getting into accidents. Violet Jessop. She was the one woman in the world you never wanted to be on a ship with. Another story of the Titanic, Violet Jessop worked for the White Star Line in the early 1910s, serving on the RMS Olympic, RMS Titanic, and later the HMHS Britannic when it was converted into a hospital ship.
Step back, I say! Give it to me. Children only.
These ships were the only 3 Olympic-class ships operated by White Star, and all of them sank. Olympic sank in 1935, but in 1911 collided with a warship while Jessop was on board. Luckily, nobody died that day. Those on Titanic and Britannic weren't so lucky. She survived the Titanic while working as a stewardess, and later Britannic while working as a nurse during the war after it hit a mine. Let us know in the comments what the strangest coincidence you've ever experienced is.